The decal covered the entire rear window of the truck. Witnesses and the man on the other end of the phone described it the same way. A fish jumping out of water, an outdoor scene, something large and pictorial, stretched across the back glass of an older two-tone green Ford pickup. In nearly 35 years, that decal has never produced a confirmed sighting. The truck has never been found. Around 11:45 p.m. on April 4th, 1991, the driver of that truck circled a parking lot in central Clinton. After passing the payphone where Angela was standing, he circled back around and parked. Then he got out, walked to the phone right next to hers, and just stood there, pretending to use it. When he went back to the truck, he grabbed a flashlight and started sweeping the beam across the lot. The young woman on the phone was telling her fiancé everything she was watching. She had been on the line with him since around 11:15. For close to half an hour, the call had been ordinary. Then she stopped narrating, and she screamed. The line did not go dead immediately. Her fiancé heard her say his name. After that, the call ended. Her name was Angela Marie Hammond. She was 20 years old. She is still missing. Angela Hammond, or Angie to everyone who knew her, grew up right here in Clinton, a small town of about 9,000 people. She'd gone to Montrose High and, by 1991, she was balancing a job as a bank clerk with classes at Central Missouri State. She was petite, only 4'11", with brown hair and a small distinct scar on her upper lip. That January, she'd gotten engaged to a guy she met at school, Rob Shafer. They were planning a life together and were actually expecting their first child. Angie was about 4 months along by April. Her family remembers her as someone who was incredibly well-liked and totally devoted to her dogs and her siblings. She was studying to be a teacher, a goal her family honored later by starting a scholarship in her name. Over the years, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has released those age-progressed photos of her, showing what she'd look like in her 30s, then her 40s. Seeing those pictures side by side really hammers home just how long this case has been sitting open. On the evening of April 4th, 1991, Angela and Rob spent time together at a barbecue. At around 10 o'clock, she dropped him off at his home in Clinton. Rob was babysitting his younger brother that night and was waiting for his mother to return from work. The plan was that the two of them would meet up again later. Angela went on to spend a short while with a friend named Kyla. Then she drove into central Clinton. What she did next was ordinary in the small-town landscape of 1991. There were no mobile phones. If you needed to make a call after a friend's house, you used a payphone. The one Angela chose stood at Jefferson Street and 2nd Street, near a food barn grocery store. The shops were closed. The streets around the town square were quiet. The lot was lit by parking lot lighting and the spill of street lamps. From there, she called Rob. The layout of the town is actually a big part of why this is so haunting. Clinton is built around a courthouse square, the kind that defines small county seat towns across western Missouri. Numbered streets run one direction, named streets run the other. The food barn sat a few blocks off the square. After dark, that part of town was pretty much empty. If a truck was circling the same block over and over, you'd notice it from almost any window nearby. And seeing a young woman standing all by herself at a payphone under that single parking lot light, she would have stood out to anyone passing by. Rob's home was about 7 blocks away, close enough that, hearing his fiancée scream into the phone, he believed he could reach her before whatever was happening was finished. He was almost right. The streets he took were the same grid the truck was using to leave. The town is small enough that there is no other way out of the center. While they were talking, that truck started circling. Angela was actually narrating it to Rob as it moved. An older two-tone green pickup with that massive decal on the back. People still debate if it was a fish jumping or just a general outdoor scene. But the exact image almost doesn't matter. What matters is that it covered the whole back window and was so unique that anyone who saw it should have remembered it. The truck circled and then it stopped. Once the driver got out, he walked to the payphone next to hers and picked up the receiver. Investigators describe him as a white man with a beard and a mustache, wearing overalls. According to the highway patrol, he also had on eyeglasses and a dark baseball cap, a description that matches what other witnesses saw in the area between 11:30 and 11:45 that night. He pretended to use the phone. He hung up. According to later accounts, he reportedly said something to Angela about not needing the phone after all. That line appears in retellings rather than in primary transcripts, and it should be treated as reported, not verbatim. He went back to the truck. He came out again with a flashlight, and he moved its beam across the parking lot. Then Angela screamed. Rob was already moving. He told investigators he ran to his own car and drove toward the payphone. On the way, on the road, the green pickup passed him going in the opposite direction. He heard, from the truck's cab, his own name.
Robbie!
He heard Angela call him by the name she used for him. He turned to follow. Let's look at the timing for a second, because the math here is heartbreaking. For Rob to have passed the truck on the road, in the direction he was traveling, the truck had to have already left the parking lot before he arrived. That places the abduction itself within the first minute or two of his drive. It also means that Angela, in the cab of that truck, was alive, conscious, and still able to call out. At the moment, the two vehicles passed each other in opposite directions, on a quiet, small-town street. Rob then had to do the hardest thing a driver can do in a pursuit. He had to stop, reverse, and turn around. That maneuver, even on an empty road, takes seconds that matter. The truck would have continued away from him at whatever speed it was traveling. Every second of his turn was distance the truck gained. His transmission failed. That is the fact, stated plainly. The car would not go into reverse, or would not stay in gear, depending on the account. Police later determined that the mechanical failure was real. They did not treat it as evidence against Rob. He was checked, polygraphed, and within a week formally cleared. By then, the truck was gone. Angela was gone. The only person who had heard her in the final seconds was the young man whose car had broken down in the middle of the chase. The Missouri State Highway Patrol started the search that night. They set up stops and sent out bulletins, while troopers spent the next few weeks checking hundreds of older two-tone green Ford pickups in the area. They were looking for that specific fish or water decal, but not a single one matched. Two witnesses came forward to confirm what Angela had been telling Rob in real time. They had seen a similar truck and a similar man near the payphones in the minutes before her abduction. The composite sketch that resulted, a bearded man in coveralls and a baseball cap, has been in circulation ever since. The decal was the strangest part of all of it. It is the kind of detail that in any other case would close the file. A vehicle that distinctive should have been recognized by a neighbor, a co-worker, or even a mechanic. You'd think someone would have seen it at a gas station and remembered it, or at least noticed if the truck was suddenly sold, scrapped, or repainted, but somehow, no one has. The simplest reading is that this was a random abduction. A guy in a distinctive truck was just driving through central Clinton looking for an isolated target, and he found one. After circling to make sure she was alone, he parked and used the second phone as an excuse to get close. Then he went back for his flashlight and took her. Several elements of the night support this reading. The circling is the behavior of someone hunting. The flashlight is the behavior of someone preparing to act. It's the kind of behavior investigators look for when they're tracking a predator who's just hunting for a target. In the months around Angie's disappearance, 2 other women in this same part of Missouri were attacked at convenience stores, both alone and both at night. Investigators have definitely seen the similarities, but they've also been clear that there's no hard evidence tying those cases to hers. What weakens this reading is what hasn't happened since. We've seen no trace of her, no remains, and no confession that actually holds up. But the strangest part is that there's still no truck. In a country where rural pickups are constantly bought, sold, or junked, a two-tone green Ford with a giant scene on the back glass just shouldn't be able to stay hidden. Trucks like that do not vanish. They get repainted, broken for parts, parked behind barns. Someone, somewhere, should have recognized one. The second reading is older than it sounds, and stranger. In April of 1991, the Clinton Police Department received, or learned of, a letter that had been sent to a confidential informant. The informant had testified in a narcotics case. According to police, the letter was made of cut and paste characters, the kind you'd use to hide your handwriting. It actually addressed the informant by his secret court-issued number, something that shouldn't have been public, and even mentioned his estranged wife by her first name. Basically, it was a message saying, "We know who you are. We know where your daughter is, and she's going to see us soon." The letter was postmarked April 4th, 1991. The same day, Angela disappeared. The informant's wife and daughter were living right there in Clinton at the time. And the daughter's name? It was also Angela. On the 30th anniversary of the case, the Clinton Police Department stated publicly that some mistake may have been made as to the identity of the targeted Angie, who had some physical resemblance to Angela Hammond. In other words, the police themselves have raised the possibility that the people behind the letter intended to take a different young woman and took the wrong one. The theory has been called credible by investigators. It has not been ruled out, and it changes the meaning of the entire night. Under this reading, the circling truck was not a predator searching for any isolated victim. It was a vehicle searching for a specific person, in a specific town, on a specific night that had been chosen in advance. What makes this theory difficult is the gap between what's confirmed and what's just been inferred. While the letter and the postmark are definitely real, and we know for a fact an informant's daughter named Angela lived there, the rest of the puzzle isn't as clear. The catch is that while the letter is real, we don't have the primary court documents to prove a direct link between those senders and the green truck. A lot of this theory has been pieced together from news coverage over the years, rather than official police records from back then. You might see some online accounts use the acronym AIIU for this theory, but that label doesn't actually show up in any verified police or court files. It's better to just set that part aside. The letter itself can also be read more than one way. One interpretation is that the senders, members of a criminal organization exposed by the informant's testimony, intended to abduct his daughter as retaliation, and that the timing of the postmark is not a coincidence. A second interpretation is more cautious. The letter may have been an attempt at intimidation that was never followed through on. Its appearance on the same calendar day as the abduction may be exactly that, a coincidence that gained meaning only in retrospect. A third interpretation, the one the Clinton Police Department has publicly entertained, is that the senders did intend to act, that they did act, and that they took the wrong young woman because she fit a general description of the right one. Each interpretation carries different weight depending on what is treated as primary evidence. None has been disproven. None has been confirmed in a way that allows the case to close. What remains, when both readings are weighed, is the truck. Neither explanation accounts for it. Under the predator reading, it should have been seen again, by someone, somewhere. Under the mistaken identity reading, it was the operational vehicle of people connected, however loosely, to a documented narcotics case. That means it had a life before that night and a life after it. It should have been traceable through the people who used it. It was not. Police looked at Rob from every angle, and his story never changed. He was on the phone with his fiancé. After hearing her describe the truck and then scream, he raced out the door. The drive was only 7 blocks, but on the way, the green pickup passed him going the other direction. Inside the cab, he heard her call his name. Then, his transmission failed. There's been plenty of speculation that the breakdown was somehow timed by whoever took her, but police have never found anything to back that up. It looks like the transmission failure was just a mechanical failure, occurring at the absolute worst possible moment in a young man's life. In the years afterward, there have been unconfirmed sightings of Angela in several states, and in Canada. None has ever been verified. The Missouri State Highway Patrol still carries her file. The Clinton Police Department, in 2021, made a public appeal in connection with the letter. Around that same time, they received an anonymous call from someone who referenced details of that letter. The caller has not been heard from again. Angela's mother, Marsha Cook, died in May of 2021 without learning what happened to her daughter. The case remains open. What you're left with, after everything, is that image Angela was describing before the line went dead. That older two-tone green Ford pickup circling a parking lot in a small Missouri town just before midnight. A man in overalls, walking to a payphone, pretending to dial, then going back for a flashlight. In nearly 35 years, no one has ever come forward who recognized it. The truck has never been found. Angela Hammond is still missing. She would be 55 years old today. Her child would be 34.